Good day, culinarians. Today we're going over Chapter 7. Chapter 7, Mise en place, page 139. Keep in mind, as I'm going through this lecture, follow along in your book, your culinary book. If you need to take notes along the way. I'm going to highlight a couple things out of this book here that'll be on your chapter test. So make sure you read the chapters, take notes, highlight, however you're going to do it. If you have any questions, write down your questions, bring them to class, or if you have any questions, you can email me, and I'll get back with you as soon as possible on your questions. So we'll start out with mise en place on Chapter 7. When you take your tests, keep all your tests, okay? At the end of the semester, you're going to take your final. The final questions are all going to be based off of all the tests you're taking all semester long. So save this test. That's going to be your study guide for your final. Okay, page 139, Chapter 7, Mise en place. Mise en place, basically everything put in place. Mise en place, everything put in place. Okay. Page 140, planning and organizing production with mise en place. Okay, mise en place, assemble your tools, assemble your ingredients, wash, trim, prepare, measure raw materials, prepare your equipment, preheat oven, sheet pans, anything. Mise en place is everything you're going to need in the kitchen, from food to equipment to everything. You want to make sure you're organized. You got your mise en place before you start working on anything. So today I'm lecturing my mise en place, so make sure I got my book, the computer, got my drink, got my notes here to the side. I got all my mise en place ready to go. So your mise en place is getting everything in its place. Make sure you have everything ready to go. Last thing you want to do is you start on a project and realize you're missing something halfway through. Okay, so your mise en place is getting all your material together first. Page 140, they talk about determining stages of arranging, getting things done for your mise en place. First step in the recipe is always advanced preparation, similar ingredients together. So if you're putting something together, if you're making something simple as a soup, okay, you're making a soup. So what are you going to do? You're just going to start out making a soup? No, you're going to get your mise en place together. You got to cut up your vegetables. You got to cut up your meat if you're putting that in there. You got to get your stock together. You got to get all this stuff together. You got to get your pot together, your whisk, your spoon, whatever you're going to use. You can get all your ingredients together, equipment-wise, food-wise, before you start making your soup, okay? So determine the stages of what you need to get done in advance, okay? Getting your stuff together. Page 141, we get into your goals of pre-preparation, getting things ready ahead of time, okay? Getting yourself set up ahead of time. Same with coming into the kitchen. When you guys start coming into the kitchen all the time, you want to make sure your place is set up. When you come into the kitchen, I'm going to have my station set up, ready to go. So when you come into the kitchen, if you're here a little early and you look at my station is going to be set up just like you need to set up your station for that day, no matter what you're working on. So if I got my cutting board here, my chef's knife, my little container for my trash, whatever I have on my workstation, I'm set up. That's my mise en place, ready to go for class. So when you guys come into the kitchen, you see my station set up. That's how you're going to set up your station. That's your mise en place that you're going to work with to set up your station. So if you go by my guideline to set up your station, you should be good to go. If you're here early, if you come in and you come in right when class starts, first thing you do is you look at my station, get that all set up. Same with mise en place in the kitchen. When you guys come in the kitchen, there's certain things you got to do to get set up for class, okay? If you go over to the dry rack, you got to take all the equipment and utensils off the dry rack and put them away. That way that dry rack is empty and ready to go for you and your class today. You got to set up the 3-compartment sink. You got to set up the dishwasher. Those are all your mise en places you got to set up before you start working in the kitchen, okay? Page 141. They talk about set meal services, okay? Set meal services, all customers eat at one time. Usually if you're going into a dinner show or something, everybody's eating at one time. Everybody files in, you get a couple hundred people coming in, they want to see a dinner show, everybody sees the show, everybody eats at the same time. That'd be a set service. When we get into extended meal services, often called a la carte, people eat at different times. Okay, so two different types of services are set services and extended meal services. You know, you're going to have your mise en place set up a different way. If you have your set meal service, you know you got to get everything together. You're expecting 125 people to come in for your meal at one time. You're going to have 125 meals ready. Okay. You got your extended meal services, a la carte. You're not too sure how many people you're going to feed, so you look on past history. Okay, that's your mise en place. You're getting your information together before the start of the meal service. Page 142. Get into mise en place requires different tasks. Bottom page, you get into tasks for stocks, vegetables, meat fabrication, poultry, seafood. Different things require different mise en place for that. Getting into page 143, going from mise en place to your knives. Your knives are part of your mise en place. You got to make sure your knife is sharp. Okay. You want to sharpen it on a 20-degree angle on the stone and a 20-degree angle, honing it on your steel. When you guys come into class, I'm going to show you how to sharpen your knives on the stone and how to hone them on your steel. You got to make sure you keep your good edge on your knives. Whenever you come in the kitchen, you pull out your knife, you always pull out your steel. If I see you have your knife on the table, your steel on the table, that way I know you're keeping a good edge on that knife. Page 143, keeping a sharp edge, hold it at a 20-degree angle. When you guys come in the kitchen, I'll show you how to use a dry stone to help sharpen your knives. Page 144, they go down the procedures on how to sharpen a knife, handling the knife properly, guiding hand, using the claw as you're chopping away, getting things done. That way you keep your fingers and stuff underneath the knife. I'll show you that when you get in the kitchen. We'll get the knife and I'll show you how to do all that stuff. On page 144, as it talks about the guided hand, holding it, basic cuts and shapes, ensured cooking. One of the reasons why I'm going to show you how to do certain cutting techniques is because you want to get uniformity when you cut your product. So if the product's nice and uniform, your carrots, celery, onions, whatever you're making, if it's a good uniform, then it's going to cook more evenly. Whatever you're preparing, whatever dish you're preparing, whether it be soup or stew or whatever it is, a salad, it's going to be nice and even proportion. Okay, so cutting basic shapes, you got to chop, mince, mincer, shredded, different types of cuts on there. What we're going to be doing in class, page 145, we're going to go over the Marinate, brunoise, julienne, and small dice. Those are the 4 cuts we're going to learn in the kitchen. Okay, page 145, they talk about different cuts. You know, your large dice, 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch, medium dice, half inch, small dice, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/4 inch. You get your brunoise, 1/8 by 1/8. You get your fine brunoise, 1/16, 1/16. Your passenang, 1/2 by 1/2 by 1/8. Your bâtonnet, 1/4 by 1/4 by about 2.5 to 3 inch. Your julienne, which we'll do in class also, 1/8 by 1/8 by about 2.5. So page 146 show different techniques of cooking. Page 147, different techniques of using your knife. Page 148 shows how to properly dice up an onion. We'll be dicing onions in class. I'll show you how to properly dice those up. Cutting them in step A, B, and C. Cutting them up. When you do up your herbs and stuff, chopping up your herbs for your mirepoix. 149. 149, you get into tourneing vegetables. When you get into Garmager class, Chef Ray will show you how to tourne the vegetables. Page 150, getting into peeling fruit, peeling oranges, grapefruits, lemons, limes, whatever it is. Chef Ray will get into the fruits and stuff in Garmager. Garmager is cold food cooking, so Chef Ray will go over that in Garmager class. Chiffonade. Chiffonade is very popular, page 150. If you're going to chiffonade, take your, for instance, take your basil, roll it up, okay, a little tubular thing like a little cigarette, and then just start cutting it. When you start cutting it, that's called the chiffonade way, okay? Page 152, they talk about marinating your product. Marinating is part of mise en place, okay? If you're going to have a piece of food product, you need to marinate it to get some flavor in it. You're going to have to marinate it ahead of time. You know, if you're doing some chicken and you got to cook it that day, you can't marinate that day and then cook it. A lot of times you have to let it marinate overnight to let it absorb a lot of the flavors. So marinade, page 152, marinate means to soak food in a seasoned liquid in order to give it some flavor and tenderize the product. So that's the definition of marinate. Soak food product, seasoned liquid for flavor and tenderizing. Different types of marinade, there's all kinds of different types of marinade out there. Page 153, you got a dry marinade or a dry rub. A lot of times you use this when you're barbecuing on ribs or briskets or something like that. You come up with a dry rub. My dry rub I typically use is cayenne pepper, white pepper, salt, a little oregano, a little basil, a little brown sugar. Basic dry rub, you put that on your meats, let it set for at least 24 hours to get some flavor into it. That'll be a dry rub. Page 153, guidelines for marinating. A couple things to keep in mind. A lot of times you want to use an acid-resistant container, okay? So either hard aluminum like we got here in the kitchen or plastic would be good, but make sure it resists to acid if you're going to marinate in there. Cover products completely with your marinade. A lot of times if you have a big piece of meat and you try to marinate it and it doesn't submerge all the way in the marinade, a lot of times what you do is you leave it in that marinade for a couple hours, turn it over, and let the other half marinate, and let it marinate the rest of the time. Page 154, they talk about preparations for frying foods, if you're going to fry any kind of poultry or seafood. Most foods can be deep fried. Some exceptions are some sort of potato breading. You want to stay away from that. But any kind of breading or batter, coating serves a good purpose. You don't want to bread or batter French fries or potatoes for frying. Can you? Yes. Are they doing it? Yes. But typically you don't bread or batter potatoes for frying. Pretty much everything else is a go. If you've been to a state fair or carnival or something lately, go to that fry booth and they're frying everything from Twinkies to Oreos to popcorn to butter to who knows what, cotton candy. They're deep frying everything nowadays. When you fry food, you want to put that coating on there. That'll help protect it and keep it moist. The fat helps keep the product moist in there. Breading, if you're going to be breading, basic 3-stage breading. You got your seasoned flour, you got your seasoned egg wash, you got your seasoned breading, breadcrumbs, whether it be panko breading or regular old bread, stale bread, dried up bread, and you grind up and use that for breading. Page 155, getting into the breading procedure, has a little chart there on page 155. You got your product, you got your seasoned flour, you got your egg wash, you got your breadcrumbs, and the pan to hold it. If you're breading, one of the things you want to do is make sure you season along the way. So if you're making something simple as chicken parmesan, okay, you're going to bread the chicken breast. So on the seasoned flour, put some salt and pepper in there, dredge it in the flour. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll put a little Parmesan cheese in that flour. So in that flour I'll have salt and pepper, some Parmesan cheese, dredge the chicken in that, put it in the egg wash, and then put it in the breadcrumbs. And the breadcrumbs, I'll also have a little bit of salt, pepper, and then a lot more Parmesan cheese. That way you get it seasoned all the way through, from meat all the way to the outer coating. Once you get all that in there, put it to the side, and then when you go to cook it, you're gonna get that flavor, especially since it's Parmesan, you're gonna get that Parmesan flavor all throughout the chicken. Purpose of dredging with the flour is to help keep the egg whites to stick onto the product, and then once you get that egg on the outside, that breadcrumbs will stick to the product. On page 155, get into batters, different types of batters, many liquids used for batters, milk, water. If you're using batter, eggs, you can use eggs in the batter, and they can or cannot be used. If you're using a batter, you want to use some sort of leavening agent in the batter. Baking powder, egg whites, some sort of carbonation. If you're making beer batter fish, basically you take some beer, open up a can of beer, a bottle of beer, mix in some flour. Leavening agent would be the yeast and the carbonation from the beer. Okay. Seltzer is always good at Asian food. If you go to Asian place to eat, they use seltzer water for their battered tempura battered product. It's just seltzer water and some flour and some seasoning. Page 156, mise en place, handling convenience foods. Whenever you handle convenience food for mise en place, handle the same care you do with fresh or raw ingredients. Examine as soon as you receive to make sure they're all good. Store properly. There's a lot of the stuff we went over in our sanitation class. The shelf life of each product. Be careful of the shelf life of each product. Some manufacturers have the shelf life on the product where it has to be used by a certain date, and some manufacturers put the made date, the born on date on the product. So if you get in some pre-made salad dressings, it might have on there when it was made, not when it expired. So if you get it in and you look at it and go, oh, this stuff is already expired. No, it's not expired. That's when it was made. So you got to be careful on the dates of that stuff. Check to see if it's the made date or the expiration date on the containers. Defrosting properly. Went over defrosting properly and sanitation. Different ways of defrosting. Walk-in cooler is the best. Put it in a walk-in cooler. Let it gradually thaw out, and then walk-in cooler over a day or two. Under running cold water. Microwaving, if you're microwaving, cook right away, or part of the cooking process. So if you have a frozen item, throw it in the deep fryer, you're cooking it to thaw it out. Convenience foods. Convenience foods definition, any product that has partially or completely prepared off the premises. So basically, convenience foods is something that wasn't made or was partially made outside of your restaurant. A lot of places are going with those frozen desserts. Frozen desserts have become really good lately. So you might get some frozen cake in. It's all ready to go. All you got to do is defrost it, thaw it out, slice it up, and serve it. Page 157. Talk about convenience products are not a substitute for culinary knowledge and skill. That's absolutely right. You can't just get in all kinds of pre-made products to run your operation. Okay, the quality is good, but the quality is always better when someone's making it from scratch and everything's made to order. You can't get the quality of that, so that can never be substituted. Page 157. That's the end of the mise en place chapter. Any questions? Shoot me an email or bring them into class, and I'll try to answer them in class. Thank you.